Hey, it's me, the Quenchies. I'm that late afternoon craving you just can't shake. Wait, what's that? Welch's Grape Aid? No! Made with real fruit and no added sugar, nothing answers the call of the Quenchies like Grape Aid. Got the Quenchies? Grab a Grape Aid in your juice aisle.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
There's a lot of people who cannot visualize, no matter what. You could put a gun to their head and say, visualize or die, and they'll say, well, okay, I'm choosing die because I can't do this.
Are these tools opposite or they can work together?
Great friggin' question. I used to live my life in fear. I was afraid of everything. It was crazy, and I don't have fear anymore.
Awesome.
Access bars is a tool that you can use also to rethink and reprogram things in your brain and reshape your circumstances.
I went into this session angry, sad, depressed, suicidal, with a date to end my life.
Cool.
And I came out of it with a sense of gratitude for being alive.
Aquí está nuestro invitado el día de hoy. Él es Dr. Dain Heer y bueno, es uno de los fundadores de Access Consciousness y hoy vamos a platicar con él justo de eso, de esta corriente, de estas enseñanzas energéticas. So welcome, Dain. How are you?
Alan, I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. It's been a long time coming.
I know. I'm so excited.
So Vince is more like our non-expert in Access here, so I think he can lead us in asking you exactly what we're going to talk about today.
Yes, cool. You're so right. First of all, I'm thrilled to have you here because we've had other episodes talking about Access consciousness, just a little bit. So I'm very curious to know, like, what is it? You can explain it to me, or like if you were writing some Access bars for dummies. What is Access bars?
Access, well, let's talk about Access consciousness is a way of accessing the awareness that's already within you, the consciousness already within you, so you can create the miraculous life you always knew was possible that you haven't yet been able to create. Access consciousness bars is a pressure point technique that's done on the head and takes about an hour and 15 minutes to do. And you don't have to do anything but receive, but the end result is you feel like you had a really great massage. That's the worst thing that can happen. At the best, your whole life can change. And we've done studies on Access bars and found that it relieves anxiety, stress, and depression an average of 87% with just one session.
There's a lot of people that have doubts or questions about Access that don't know if it's therapy, if it's spirituality, if it's some kind of technology. What would you say Access is as a tool for people?
Actually, Access is about accessing your consciousness. And we actually have a definition of consciousness. Consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. So does it have elements of spirituality? Yes. Does it have elements of therapy? Yeah, it won't exclude those. It doesn't exclude anything. But the idea of it is to get out of judgment in any area of our lives, because any area we're doing judgment, we're eliminating possibilities and narrowing things down to only one set of choices or only one track. This starts to open that up.
So it's being open to everything you can possibly be, everything you can possibly experience, and everything life can possibly be and miraculously occur for you, right?
Exactly that. And you'll hear the word possibilities a lot in Access because it really is about what else is possible. One of the tools of access is to ask questions instead of coming to conclusion, because a question always opens up another doorway of possibility. So when you ask something as simple as, what else is possible here I've never considered, you start to see other possibilities. But most of us have been taught not to ask questions and look in that direction of possibilities. Most of us have been taught to come to a conclusion and then control the universe to make it happen, which is a challenge because we all have so many points of view that we bought about what's possible. We're not looking for truly infinite possibilities in our lives. And when we start to look for them, we find them.
And so this tool that we've all heard a lot about, visualization, that you have to visualize what you want, the way you want it, as opposed to leaving the possibility open to what else is possible for me in my life. Are these tools opposite or they can work together?
Great friggin' question. Okay, so let's talk about visualization for a moment, because there's a weird thing that we do. We believe that what we see exists. And so to a certain extent, visualizing can be helpful in getting a sense of us being able to create our lives, which is really cool. But there's something that's even more powerful, which is when you get the sense or the feeling of the way it would be to have this thing changed. By the way, there's a lot of people who cannot visualize, no matter what. You could put a gun to their head and say, visualize or die. And they'll say, well, okay, I'm choosing die because I can't do this. So this can be helpful for people also. And some people are great at visualizing, which is cool. But what I found is if you can get the sense of the way it is to have what you're asking for, and the sense of the way it would be to have the thing you're suffering from be different. Like a lot of people have been struggling with money for a long time, and even more so in the last couple of years. And so one of the things I ask people to do is I say, hey, get the sense of the way it would be, like get the feeling, if you will. And when I say sense, it's even more than a feeling. It's like, whoa, I'm living this for a moment, and get the sense of the way it would be to have all of that disappear as a problem, and you have total ease with money. And notice even that request, it's not specific, it's you, because when you're willing to get the feeling or the sense of something, what happens is you start to own it as yours. The idea that consciousness includes everything is not against anything. And there's a lot of stuff out there, as we all know, that is amazing at creating change in a particular area. And when you add the tools of consciousness to it, you take away the parts that don't work and you expand it into something even greater. And that's what Access does everywhere. Every single one of the tools of Access is about expanding our choices into the greatest ability possible.
I really like something about Access, that it's not just visualizing or just asking the questions, but it's also being willing to act on it, to take action and to do the things that are required from you to get to wherever you want to go. Because as you said, sometimes we judge our actions into good actions or bad actions, but sometimes they're just required actions, like I want this change in the world, so I need to do this. I really love that. Can you speak to that, to the component of taking action also, apart from asking questions and all that?
That's a huge one. I ask awesome questions. This is so cool. Because this is the thing that there's this analysis paralysis that a lot of people in personal development or anytime they're trying to make a change. And what they try to do is they try to figure it all out up here to make everything out here perfect and figure out all the problems and all the solutions to all the problems before they even take a step. And that kills us. That doesn't create anything different. Your choice for something different is what creates something different. And you're taking action on it. You got to do the work. And so the action could be something like, instead of judging this, I'm not going to, action could be asking a question, what else is possible that I've never considered? And then when a possibility presents itself, like, hey, what else is possible I've never considered to change my relationship or to change this money situation? And what you're doing is you're opening up to be contributed to by the entire universe when you ask a question like that. Well, then what's going to happen is, let's say you've asked what else is possible to change my relationship. And, you're scrolling through social as you do or whatever, and some book pops up or something that piques your interest, and you're like, ooh. And it may be you need to buy the thing or read it or, and what happens is, one of the tools of access is, what's true for us always makes us lighter. So to the extent that, let's say we're in a relationship thing and we're kind of feel contracted and we don't know what to do about it, and we ask a question. And the beauty of asking a question is there's no effort involved, and there's no stress of, oh my God, I got to know what to do. This is where you actually allow the universe to contribute. So you go, what else is possible here? And how does it get any better than this? And you go live your life. And then you see something and it lights you up. It makes you lighter. Or you'll have a conversation with somebody who's going through something, and you get the awareness you required on, they just went through, I just got the information from them that I need to institute in my life. Oh, they just started being more grateful for their partner, and their partner started changing completely. Oh, I'm going to try that at home. Don't try this at home. No, try this at home. If it makes you lighter, do it. The other thing about it is, we've been conditioned, and this is part of the not taking action thing. And I point to my brain because we do it in our minds. We've been conditioned that the way to create major change is to make one major choice. And the way to get happy is to make the one choice that will make me happy. But that's not how it works. In fact, your level of happiness is from being congruent with what you truly desire and making little choice after little choice after little choice after little choice to get there. And so, given that so many people are living lives that have so much heaviness, so much yuck and stuck in it, so much sort of twisted and feeling like they don't have a sense of possibilities, they're projecting that they need to figure it all out with one fell swoop. But in actuality, all you need to do is make one choice that makes you feel a little bit lighter. And then when another one comes up and you have a choice between this and this one is lighter, choose the lighter one. And what is lighter? Lighter is just like, oh, that feels good. Lighter is like, oh, that puts a smile on my face. And so if you look at it, if you start making choices that create more lightness for you today and make choice after choice after choice, 6 months from now, your life is going to have so much more lightness and so much more joy to it and so much more ease. Because the people whose lives show up with more ease are also the people who are choosing more lightness. And it's kind of interesting. It's not rocket science, but it goes against everything that we've been taught about being a valuable, judgmental human.
Yeah, and suffering is part of the process, and hard work and struggle, and that validates your success or validates your entire existence or whatever. And I like that. I like that you don't have to do that, or you don't have to experience that. And I really love that concept of following the clues and sort of listening to the universe. And I feel that's more empowering, that what you said about making little choices instead of following one big change and one big decision, because that often feels the case when you start like a program or a spirituality thing or a therapy or whatever. Like, I'm here to change this big thing. And with this perspective, I think it's more empowering if you go choice by choice, like small choices by small choices.
Yeah, when we try to make really big choices, we're always thinking about what we're going to lose even more than what we could possibly gain. And so a small choice gets a lot easier because it's not about that. It's about, oh, I can do a little thing. I can do a little thing. And as you start using these access consciousness tools, because for me, a huge amount of this is about the tools. It's not about access. It's about using these tools to access your consciousness, the consciousness that's already within you, and recognizing that when you access your consciousness, you stop creating difficulties in your life, because the only time you create a difficulty is when you're functioning from unconsciousness, which is unawareness, or when you're functioning or when you're going against your awareness. And so the interesting part is we all have awareness and we've all been taught that we don't. And this starts to bring it out and make it present for you again. And you start to realize you have, let's say you have two choices in front of you, two different jobs, let's say. And what have most of us been taught as a way to know what to choose is we write a list of pros and cons. And if the pros outweigh the cons, we take the one that has the most pros and the least cons. But there's a far simpler way as we start to access our awareness. Okay, what will my life be like if I choose this one? And be like, not look like, because you can't see it. It's just a sense and energy, a sense of something being more expansive, like more like this. What will my be like in 5 years if I choose this one and if I choose this one? And then you go for the one that has more sense of lightness, more sense. And I talk about lightness like people should understand it. It's like the opposite of being cranky and wanting to go into a cave and have everybody go away and your guts are twisted and you're in fear. Well, lightness is the opposite of that. That was heaviness. So lightness is where it just has a sense of, wow, yum.
Is there a way to actually have a sense when fear is something that you must not do, or you're afraid to do something because it's the way you should go?
Yeah, well, here's the thing about this is fear is not true for an infinite being. But what we've done is we've taken an awareness and we've twisted it. So now we call it fear. So here's another great place where we could ask some questions like, okay, what is this really? What am I aware of that I'm not acknowledging? And another really great question, if you use it, if you're not committed to making fear real so you can let it control you, so you can be a good person and not a bad person, because everybody I know who lets fear control them is trying to be a good person because they assume they're a bad person. But every one of those people is one of the greatest people I know, and they keep thinking they must be bad, which, by the way, if you're listening, I'm talking to you, all of you, okay? But the idea with this is one of the things it will do is we'll take an energy, because I know it sounds weird, but all of us are energetic beings. If you look at somebody who creates very successfully in business, what they're doing is they're following their awareness, which is energetic. And if you'll listen for that feather touch of awareness on your cheek and follow it, instead of assuming it has no value because it doesn't match your mind and your pro and con list, we can navigate things in a totally different way. And so one of the things we found with fear is a lot of people will experience what they call fear when they're actually excited. You go, what? Yeah, because that energy is, it's not a really controllable energy when you're really excited. And we've all had situations in our lives where we were that energy or somebody else was, and we're like, whoa, you better slow that down. You better not be too much. You're going to explode. You're terrifying me right now. I mean, how many times were you a little kid or maybe a little older where you got so excited about something and somebody was like, you're scaring me? And so one of the things about fear is to ask, is this fear or is this excitement that I've misidentified and misapplied as fear? And I'm going to just tell a really quick story on this because fear is often so present for people. And it used to be for me too, 24 years ago, before I found these tools of access consciousness. I used to live my life in fear. I was afraid of everything. It was crazy. And I don't have fear anymore. Like I haven't for 20 years. So I know it's possible to go from living your life from it to, oh, I don't have that anymore. Once you identify what it is, and once you start asking some questions like, what is this really? And so the founder of Access, Gary Douglas, he was like 5 years old and he was going on the Ferris wheel for the first time with his mom. And he was so excited. He was jumping up and down, and he was like looking forward to it. But, and he was jumping up and down and pulling on his mom's skirt. And she looked down and pointed at him and said, Now, don't be afraid, dear. And he was like, oh, I'm afraid. And he had misidentified and misapplied that intensity of energy that was not controlled as fear. So anytime he got excited about something, he's like, oh my God, I'm afraid I shouldn't do it. It wasn't until he started Access and got this awareness about asking questions, like, what is this really? That he realized that it was excitement, and he had been missing out his entire life on the excitement that was possible because he misidentified and misapplied it as fear. So all of you out there who have misidentified and misapplied excitement as fear, will you let it go now, please?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Hey.
And Dain, I love what you said, that you don't live in fear anymore. I think more and more I'm starting to lose that fear also. And I love that. You're always going to be asking for more, because we're expansive beings and we love growing and all that. But is there a point where you're like, I'm okay with this. I'm not looking for discontent or for seeing the perfect relationship I want versus the one I have, the perfect money situation I want versus the one I have. Does there come a point where you're settled in your reality and you're happy with it and you can create more, but not out of this feeling of there could be more and having angst because of that?
So well put. Exactly. Yes. So here's the deal. We have this weird point of view that the only way I'm going to ask for more is if I'm unhappy with what I have.
Exactly.
And then I will overcome the challenges and I will create the more that I seek. It will be good. And you're like, okay, get off your horse there, brother. But the thing about it is, what really can occur is you can be grateful for every single thing and person in your life and desire greater. And I call it being the dissatisfied dreamer, where there's even more possible, and it excites you to go in the direction of whatever the more is, but not from a sense of lack, not from the lack that pervades so many people's lives. And most people keep themselves in lack because they think otherwise they're going to be bored and they won't seek more. But it's the exact opposite, I found. It's like, to the extent, like if you could look at your life right now and be grateful for everything in it, even the struggle. If you could look at your bank account right now and be grateful for it, okay? I know this is weird. You're like, no, I can't.
No,
Notice if I say that, and I know, Alan, you're like, yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, and you realize, and if you could look at your relationship and be grateful for that person and grateful for the fact that you chose it. You wouldn't be in it had you not chosen it. I know you like to blame them and it's all their fault for creating it and blah, blah, but you chose to be there. And if we can do that without a sense of wrongness, but a sense of, oh my God, and this is where the empowerment of us comes in. Because if we look at it and we go, if this is occurring in my life, I've had something to do with choosing it. It wasn't logical, but energetically, I had something to do with choosing it. So if you could look at your bank account for just a moment and be grateful for whatever that amount is and everything going on there. And I know for some people it can sound insane. That's why we have this thing called the clearing statement and 8,000 other tools that we can use. Because, and with any of these things that I'm saying about have lightness, consider the choice for lightness around this or be grateful for this, you may be sitting there going, hell no, I can't. Awesome. That's what you want to acknowledge because we have a way of changing that. And that is where the magic of Access comes in. Because we can have these conversations about the possibilities in this different perspective. And that's where most people end the story. What I'm interested in is let's have a conversation about this. And if you can't access that right now, see what I did there? Just snuck it right in. You can't access that right now. Then we have a way of allowing you to change it. These tools that I'm presenting, the thing that all of you guys probably know by now, are ways of getting to a space where you're no longer fighting against elements of your reality. You're no longer resisting and reacting to things in people. You're no longer at odds with your bank account, for example, and if you look at this for just a moment, if we can go there again and say, have gratitude for your bank account. If you're able to access it at all, that's a beginning. Like even just for a nanosecond, if you're like, oh, and then you go, well, you're not wrong, number one. But notice if you can access it in that moment where you have gratitude, your bank account is no longer an enemy. You're no longer doing this. And when you have that, that's when things can change. Because we've grown up in a world that teaches us that we need to fight against to create something greater. And it's our fight against that is keeping us pushing all these things out here, like this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. And we feel like we're walking on broken glass. But it's because that's how we've been trained to be by everybody, basically. And we don't have to be that way. We don't have to resist our world. And recognizing that resisting anything we resist, we have the saying, anything you resist persists. Yeah, which is true. But also anything you resist, you're not having a sense of gratitude for. We can have the choice for gratitude and it changes it. And then if we would get all the yuck stuff that comes up and just be with it for a moment rather than avoiding it. This is where the other sort of power of this comes in is in no longer avoiding anything. And when you don't have to avoid anymore, you can be present with it to create a change. The only thing you can't change in your life is the thing you keep hidden from you and the world, and the thing you have to avoid and defend. Like, an alcoholic will never not be an alcoholic until they acknowledge, I'm an alcoholic. True. Which is a long journey, right? Well, guess what? A poverty-aholic can't change being a poverty-aholic until they go, I'm choosing this. This is where I've put myself in the world. And guess what? For all of these places we put ourselves in the world, like a poverty-aholic, a relationship addict, whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be that extreme. But for all of these ways we placed ourselves in the world, we actually had reasons for doing it. They're just not logical. Some of us became poverty-aholics because our entire family was, and we didn't want to be seen as different. Or we had a sense that things could be easy and none of our family did. And we were like, oh, it sucks to sense possibilities when they don't. So we shut it off. There are reasons for this. And that's where a lot of the tools of access can go to changing what occurred earlier in life in a way that is more effective than anything else I've ever seen.
Yeah, so it's acknowledging your present, being conscious about that, changing your point of view of things.
Yeah, exactly. Because our point of view creates our reality. Absolutely. And if you look at that, and this is the thing, is our point of view creates our reality. Reality does not create our point of view. And this is a big thing, because if you grew up with people who had the point of view that money is a struggle, for example, or women don't like men and men don't like women, let's say that's what you saw growing up, because as little kids, we come in and we're like, wow, I'm here. Now what? Little kids are just like, hi. And we learn all of these points of view, and we learn all of these points of view from the people we grow up around. So if you have the point of view that money is a struggle, guess what? Your parents and your family
be a struggle.
have a similar point of view, right? And it's going to be a struggle.
How do you unlearn that?
It's not about unlearning it as much, thank goodness. And I say that because when we try to unlearn, we're going here to try to lay down a new pattern. What Access does, we have this thing called the clearing statement that goes back and cuts the line. It basically cuts the line of the programming in your head that keeps creating that. And so it's far easier than unlearning. What you do is, and this is brilliantly, wonderfully easy in many ways, is you notice when you're stuck. Any of these tools, like what else is possible? What's it going to take to change this?
It's fine.
And then we have this clearing statement, which the short form is POC and POD. And the POC stands for going back to the point of creation of wherever you bought this limited point of view or wherever you created it and asking it to dissolve. And it is basically a practical application of quantum physics. And the interesting part about quantum physics is it starts to approach consciousness the further you go, and explains that every molecule in the universe has consciousness. Well, guess what? The consciousness of you doesn't desire you to be limited. It's your mind that you're overlaying on it. So we literally have a way of changing your fixed points of view faster than anything you've ever tried to do in your friggin' life. And it's called the clearing statement. And so, like, if you look at the room you're in, the walls look solid, but science tells us they're 99.99999% space, right? Well, what if it's the same thing with the limitations in our lives? What if there's a lot of space there, but we, with our point of view, have created it as solid? So this clearing statement is about noticing when you have a fixed point of view and asking yourself, will I let this go? And it's a real simple question. Will I let this go? And most of the time it's going to be, hell yeah, why would I hold on to this pile of crap, right? Everything that is, I let it go. I destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, po-beds and beyonds. And yes, I said that on purpose, just to fry people's brains and to make Alan wonder, what are you doing, brother?
No, I love that. I love it. I use it all the time. And also, access bars.
I'm writing it down. Awesome.
Access bars is a tool that you can use also to rethink and reprogram things in your brain and reshape your circumstances. And you don't have to learn how to practice access bars. You can just go to someone who does that, a practitioner, and get your bars run, and then things will start to slowly move and change, right?
Slowly or quickly, yes.
Or quickly, yeah.
And you were saying, I would say it makes you de-think and deprogram to where, and you're absolutely correct. I can lie down and receive it. Literally 24 years ago, I was the spiritual seeker of the friggin' universe, man. I was reading 5 books at all times. I would go from book to book to book on metaphysics, personal growth, how to make money, how to create business, how to have a better relationship, all the stuff as we do, because I knew there had to be something else possible. I was going to weekend workshops. I was maxing out my friggin' credit card, and I would pay it off enough, and I'd be like, okay, I can go to another workshop. Awesome. And what would happen is, in so many of these workshops, by the end, I was like, I have found what I am looking for. It is, and what was I looking for? Happiness and more ease with money and more ease in my relationships. And what would happen is a few days later, it felt like the universe caved in on my head again. All the change I had gotten felt like it was gone, but I wasn't in the workshop setting, and I didn't really have any concrete tools to use to undo it. And I finally had had enough. I had been unhappy for the better part of 3 years. I had, for the first time in my life, given up hope. For the first time in my 30 years on the planet, I had finally given up hope. And I had experienced abuse, and I had experienced mean people my whole life, and I never gave up hope. I always knew there had to be something, and one day I was just done. And I said, universe, I'm out of here. And I gave the universe 6 months. I was like, either my life changes and I actually get happy this time, and it's sustainable, or sayonara, motherfucker. Okay? So a week later, I see an ad for Access Consciousness bars, and it says, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. By the way, great tool. Use it 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the evening. You will start to notice your life change. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. But when I read it, I was like, go away. Can you do this? Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We can do
all right, good.
Yeah.
And I say F you, because that was my point of view.
Of course.
I was like, ease, joy, and glory. My life is pain, suffering, and glory. I hate you. Anyway, I saw the ad the following week, and I ended up calling the girl because, the idea that if you love something or hate it, there's something there for you. I had an hour and 15-minute bar session, okay? I went into this session angry, sad, depressed, suicidal, with a date to end my life.
Cool.
And I came out of it with a sense of gratitude for being alive. I was like, oh my God, if it feels like this to be alive, I'm in. Let's go. I knew I would never go into that deep, dark hole ever again. I just knew. And I was like, holy crap. And what was interesting was, I mean, that changed the course of my life. It's why I'm sitting in front of you right now, literally. And what happened was a few days later, I had that same thing of the universe wanting to cave in on my head again, right? But the girl that ran my bars gave me a tool that is very helpful that I want to share with all of you. It was this: who does this belong to? Is this mine? So I woke up and it felt like all the stuff was there, and I went, wait, who does this belong to? And it all went away. And I was like, are you frigging kidding me? You mean the depression, the suicidal thoughts, the sense of lack of hope has not been mine? I've just been aware of it. And I called the girl and she went, yeah, well, like I explained to you, we're like big psychic radio receivers. We're broadcasting and receiving towers for energy. What happens is a lot of people where you live, are they happy or pretending to be happy and secretly sad? I went, the second one, they're pretending to be happy. They're putting on this smiley face, even though they're dying inside. And she said to me, she said, how aware are you of them? And I went, oh my God, I'm aware of all of them, like they're in my body. And I went, and she said, yeah, exactly. So who does that belong to? Is it actually yours? I went, no. And then I looked back over some of the major happy points of my life. And I looked there and I went, was that mine? Was that all mine? No. How much of it was mine? Almost none. And I went back and back and back, and I talk about mind officially blown. And this is what I mean, where we have these tools that nobody else is talking about or thinking about that are just so dynamic, because what we're doing is we're accessing the energy of what is to get you out of the lie, because the only time you get stuck is when you're functioning from a lie. That's when your life gets heavy.
You were talking about this, about relating to other people. And how do you go about your life when you're doing this work and when you're doing these tools and opening yourself up for possibilities? And then you start to interact with other people. In most spiritual things, you're like, no, you got to protect your energy against them, you know, and don't let their bad juju come into your life or stuff like that. But how does Access view that interaction with other people? Do you get involved? You don't get involved?
Oh, I love that question, because in my very first Access class, I was learning the bars. And one of the first parts of the bars is this thing called an energy pull, where you pull energy through their body and through yours. And I said to the girl doing the class, I'm like, hell no, my body is a temple. I've been doing spiritual work for years. These people could have bad energy. How dare you try to get me to pull bad energy into my temple? She's like, you mean the same temple you wanted to kill a couple of weeks ago? I went, yeah, that temple. And so it was interesting. I realized I might have had a fixed point of view there. And she asked me this question. She said, Dain, is there any such thing as bad energy and good energy, or is it just energy? And our point of view creates it as though it's bad or good. And my eyes got really big, and I was like, oh my God, on my entire spiritual journey, a huge amount of what I was taught was what was bad energy and what was good energy, and to only choose the good energy. And she said another thing to me. She's like, question, is good and bad a judgment? I went, it is the judgment. And she went, well, if you didn't judge it, what else would be possible? And I was like, oh my God, like, just, I don't know if you guys did the same thing I did, but I looked over my whole life and I'm like, if I didn't judge it, I had to hold my brain in, it's going to be one of those emojis where you're like, it's like, if I didn't judge anything, what else would be possible? You know, that definition of consciousness we have where everything exists and nothing is judged, including you, including your choices, including other people, including colors of light, including colors of clothing, including energies of any form. And this is also, though, and so this is where the tools also come in, because what we've also been taught, if we've been on a spiritual journey or a personal growth journey at all, we seem to have this weird point of view that, oh, I should get this and I should be able to do it right now and I should be able to do it perfectly and I'm wrong if I don't. No, beautiful you, please, please don't do that to yourself. Please, that is one of the unkindest things you can do. Instead, notice where you've got something that you're not willing to change. Notice where you've got something that seems like a limited point of view, and then be kind to you and let's use some tools and change it. So in this case, interesting point of view, have this point of view. Interesante punto de vista que tengo este punto de vista. Okay? This mother is so good. So let me give you a little example of it, even though, once again, a lot of you have probably heard about it by now, which is awesome. And if the world just had that one tool, that and asking questions, we would have a different world if people would use it, you know? But so if you just take some upset, because I'd like to show you how to use this tool. Just take some upset that you still have in your world that went on in the last week or two or something you're still not having ease with or light about, where it's just like, it's kind of sticking in your world. And just be with that for a moment rather than avoiding it, and stop resisting it. It's not going to kill you. Okay. And now to whatever that energy is, just go, interesting point of view. I have this point of view.
With Ring cameras and doorbells, it's easy to keep every fright in sight. See who's there. Keep your scaredy cats company.
Oh, it's okay, sweetie. I'll be home soon.
And protect your crypt from the real monsters.
Oh, come on. The sign says take one.
Find dead simple ways to stay connected right now at ring.com.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
You may notice it shifts a little bit.
Yeah,
so
lighter.
now, yeah, right? So, and here's the thing, it may not all be gone yet. So now whatever energy's now there, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Shifts again, usually. Whatever else is there, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Now, we need to add one other part to this, because a lot of people out there listening to this and they're going, yeah, I noticed a change, and yet there's still something that's not letting go. This is where we bring out another big gun in the same family, which is most of the things that stick us involve other people. Now, we have a lot of conversations we've been having lately about how we function from personalities to try to create a result. And it usually sticks us because it creates us having a point of view or a judgment. Because we care, we judge. Because we judge, we want them to do something different. Because they won't do something different, we then try to control it. Because we can't control them, we then go into judgment of us for not being able to control the situation and get them to choose the thing that we have judged is better for them than what they're currently choosing. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's a conversation. So here's a shortcut to because we're on a podcast. If we were in a class, like I could flesh that out, walk through it, and give you all the tools and the processes, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you one tool that you can use and will hopefully change it, which is this interesting point of view. I have this point of view that they have these points of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view that they have these points of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view that they have these points of view. And usually, if you're willing to, and this is predicated upon us being willing to have a different choice. And when you're ready for a different choice, these tools are ready to contribute to you.
is there something you can add to the effect that you said most of us are frustrated with one thing or something like that? You just said interesting point of view, and that's a really great tool to live by or to incorporate into your life. But how do you go about your day when you have these tools and suddenly you don't remember that you have them, and then you notice that you made a mess again?
Yeah.
Like, God, I forgot I could have another awareness. I forgot about not judging. I forgot about questions, and I forgot about that. How do you come back from that?
Most of our knee-jerk reactions that create stuckness for us and other people seem like they're on autopilot. And for all intents and purposes, currently they are on autopilot, but we're the ones who created the autopilot. So rather than make yourself wrong when you realize, oh my God, I just went on my anger trip again, I just created the same result, just take a moment, go right before that occurred, and notice that before that occurs, it's like the buildup of a hurricane, or a tornado. Like you can sense it going, and then what happens? The pressure cooker has to pop off. So there's a few things you can do, one of which is something that we found that is so helpful, and that is recognizing that we are all functioning from personalities that we basically have in place as sort of an autopilot way of reacting to things and people, so we can be back here and not get hurt and not have to actually engage and be there. And we all have them. And it's not something anybody else is talking about, but it's something that you can use if you're willing to. As you use any of these tools, you can do it after the fact. That's part of the beauty of it, is you don't have to catch it in the moment. So stimulus, and then your knee-jerk reaction, right? Well, what happens is you use any of these tools, there starts to become a space in there where it's not just autopilot reaction, it's stimulus. And rather than you disappearing and running a program of personalities, like, oh, this is my personality for this situation, this is my personality for this person, this is my personality around my family, and thousands of them go together a lot of times. Rather than doing that, you have the stimulus. The person says, you're a jerk. And you go, oh, instead of that, they go, you're a jerk. And you go, okay, I have choice here. If I did kill them, could I find a way to get rid of the body? No. Okay, so killing is not a choice. What else? Okay, how about interesting point of view? Oh, but do I really desire that much freedom, or do I want to show this jerk that they're wrong? Okay, wait a minute. Is it going to create more if I show them that they're wrong? No, I still have to work with them. Plus, I'm married to them. Okay, all right. And so what we do is we start to have the choice for ourselves and for what will create greater. And one of the things that you can do that's really helpful is just walk yourself back in time a little bit to where the upset occurred and be with you. But what happens is the you that's desiring to, you that realized I just created an upset, I would like to get more awareness on this, so maybe I have a different choice in the future. Not from judgment of you, though. This is because when we judge us, we shut off our willingness to contribute to ourselves, just like when we judge our bank account. We shut off our willingness to contribute to it, and now we're at odds with ourselves. So the way to do this is just walk back in time a few moments to where that occurred and notice when this thing started occurring and go, all the personalities that I was functioning from there, I'm willing to change that now. It doesn't create the result I would like. And then you run the clearing statement, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povets, and beyonds. Or if you're like a lot of people and you want the quickie shortcut, POC and POD, POC and POD. Stands for going back to the point of creation or the point of destruction, where point of creation of a limited point of view, or the point of destruction where you took something that didn't have to be yuck and you turned it into yuck.
Love it. I want to ask you about the Access Bars class, because you're going to talk to us about an upcoming thing. But first of all, what happens in an Access Bars class?
In an Access Bars class, number one, you come in and you're like, can I do it? Can you do it? Can I do it? I'm like, oh, if I could do it, you can do it. Okay. So number one, we have a lot of fun. Number two, we laugh. And number three, you actually get to learn how to do bars by doing it, but also by receiving it. So you'll gift and receive 2 different bar sessions. In this case, with me showing where the bars points are, or if you go to another bars class, that bars facilitator will show you exactly where the points are. And the other thing about it is we'll have people walking around to make sure that you're getting it. And what I've noticed, which is interesting, is people just seem to get it now. It's like people who've never done any of this stuff before, engineers, housewives, skydivers. It's like they come in, they're like, oh, right here. I'm like, that took me years, bro. And so you'll learn how to do bars. You'll get enough practice to know you can do it. You get a manual with all kinds of tools and stuff, some of the stuff we've been talking about today. You get a bars chart, which shows you where the bars are located, and you'll actually be able to go out and run bars after this and be able to contribute this amazing gift to your family and other people. And you could make a business out of it if you desire to. After that point, what we say is like, please practice. The only way to get really good at bars is practice. And practice until you have a sense that you really are comfortable doing it and you can contribute this to people, and then do sessions, charge for it. Because why not? And people will often receive more for something they pay something for than something you give them for free. So in one day, you can actually do something that will be a massive contribution to people. Could save somebody's life. I don't know. Oh, by the way, not everybody has the same effect that I had from bars, but I have seen many people who have also. But so and the other result, the other interesting part is, one of the most exciting parts for me is it reminds me of that day when I got my very first bar session. I did not know this space of enjoying being alive was possible. I didn't know it was possible to look through my own eyes at the world I would like to create and have an enthusiasm for creating it. So one of the greatest parts about it is you just showing up. Even if you're terrified to learn bars, don't worry about it. We're all terrified when we start anything new. It's totally okay. I will make it as gentle as possible. Plus, I'll run some processes on you so you're like, okay, I thought I was afraid, but apparently I'm not. You might be excited, who knows? But the lightness, the sense of the possibility for the enthusiasm of being alive just seeps into your cells over the course of the day. It's really cool. Changes your trajectory.
And once you have this tool about bars, can you run the bars to yourself, or you need someone to do it for you?
No, you definitely can do it on yourself. It tends to be more effective when somebody else does it for us.
Okay.
Simply because it's also got an element of receiving. One of the things bars does is it opens you up to receive. And that's something we don't have very much of on this planet currently. And this
I agree.
Yeah. And so this starts changing that, but it's very effective when running it on yourself too. I do it a lot. Like there's one right behind the ears, and we call it the implant band. And like I will go to sleep, put my arms up there and fall asleep. And then I only wake up because my arms themselves are asleep and going, hey, but if you just did this, if you just put your hands here, it's like if you go from right behind the ears, you just go over a little ridge, and then there's a little valley there. It's like your fingers were made for it. And just hold it for 5 or 10 or 20 minutes. Really helpful if you're really stressed out. Oh, one other one. I'm a big fan of like giving people tools, because when I started this journey,
and
these
we love
tools weren't out
tools
there in the world.
This podcast is all about hacks and tools and all that. Yeah. So
bring me too. Cool. Let's do it. And I know some of the people aren't going to come to the bars class where they'll learn all this stuff. So it's like, here, go out and have as many tools as possible that actually work. Another one, 2 of the bars are actually joy and sadness. Oops. Okay. I have to look on the camera where I am. Okay. And they're right up here, and you can do it like this. And like, if you're having emotional turmoil, dude, this can be so helpful. I don't recommend doing it in public like we all are right now because people will look at you funny, but that's okay. What do people do when they're really stressed and don't know what to do? They go, oh, mamma mia, ¿qué pasó? Or in the case of any telenovela, ¿qué pasó? ¿Por qué? You know, like, so good. It's in the culture, you know? So what they're doing is they're activating these joy and sadness bars.
Those two.
So you can do that too. Or this, it's right in line and it's right here. And what's interesting is just after a few minutes, it's like the hard edges, the broken glass all around us starts to get softer. And here's the interesting part is from that softer space, we create more, not less. We don't have to be as forceful in our lives as we have thought we had to be. And part of the reason we're living lives, but it doesn't feel like they're connecting in the way we know they should is because we bought that we need to use force, we need to use judgment, but that's not the best version of us. That's a lesser version of us. And to the extent that we can recognize that the softness, like our childlike wonder walking through the world, will not only not be destroyed, but it may be one of the keys to creating the happiness we all seek.
Are these pressure points in any way related to acupuncture or some kind of ancient medicine or something?
If you want to talk about 4 trillion years ago as ancient, then yes. And what we found is there are certain, because there are all kinds of pressure point things, like acupuncture, and some really great stuff, like phenomenal stuff out there. And this is none of those, even though some of them intersect.
Okay.
And you're coming up with a global class. Is that the same? Can you take it online? Where is it going to be? Because I think it's going to be really close to us. So let us know about that, because you teach it just once a year. You right?
Yep, that is true.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be in Mexico City. Yeah, baby. I'll be there on October 27th, and you can also take it online. And yeah, I do one global bars class a year, and that's also the one that you can take online because the bars class usually needs to be in person. It's a rare and wonderful chance to learn this and also be present for all of the change that it creates. There's more miracles that occur with more of us there because you are a contribution. We all are a contribution. So that's October 27th. And then I believe the evening before, I'm going to be doing a class on getting to interesting point of view with money, or basically changing your crap around money so you're not suffering it anymore, so you can go be happy and change the world.
You've given us so many tools just today in this call, in this podcast, that I think that if you just started to do that, your life will start to change immediately, almost immediately, because you'll be open to an awareness and to possibilities that you'd never been before. If you, Dain, you yourself, could spread something all over the world and have it change for the better, what would that be?
That would be getting all of us who desire something different and greater to get out of the judgment of us, to recognize that these hopes and dreams that we have are not hopes and dreams, they're awareness of the future that we together can create, and to end the separation that other people in the world have found so valuable, and instead create a communion of possibilities, not a commune, but a sense of oneness where we are all contributing to each other and also contributed to and recognizing what a gift we are. And to end the cycles of poverty and destruction and war that others see as valuable, and stop pretending that we don't have a voice and a choice, because we are the voice and the choice when we choose it.
Love that. We could stay here for 5-8 more hours talking about this and just listening to these beautiful things that you're saying and opening ourselves to a different reality. But we want to thank you so much. You don't have any idea that how important this is for us, for me. We've been looking for this opportunity to talk to you it was in the creation of this dream of this podcast. And to have you here now, it's like you said, it was a dream, but it was also an awareness of the future. So I love that. And it's a perfect thing to thank you for. And we're so amazed by all you've contributed to us and me personally to my life. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, gentlemen, thank you both so much. It has been an honor and a pleasure. And truly, what else is possible now?
Thank you so much.